Ladies and gentlemen, welcome officially to part 2 of my Godzilla 2014 movie review. Alright, so I talked about the critical analysis. And from my tone, it might have sounded like I was shitting on the movie, but I really just wanted to get that stuff out of the way. So I could really talk about what I loved about it. Well, for one, the movie was kind of like, for the most part, like non-stop action. Like, definitely a moving story that really just like always kept, like, even when it started to feel a little slow and then it picked up, like it never felt drawn out or boring, for sure. Like from the moment like they go back to the quarantine zone, the movie, like the first 20 minutes is a lot of setup, and I found the wives annoying, I said before, but after that, once they go to the quarantine zone, oh man, then the story just really picks up. And once the Muto hatches and then the army gets thrown in, then Godzilla shows up and then the other Muto comes in, it's just like the story doesn't stop, which is really nice. It's like, it's well paced, it feels good, it's not too rushed, it's not like Transformers where too much shit is going on, it's just well balanced. Yeah. Kind of the opposite of Spider-Man 2, in a sense. Well, no, there was still a lot going on. It just needed, well, I'll get to that. And I'm just gonna cut this part out. This part's kind of useless. And then the Mutos themselves were actually really cool. They were really interesting. I really enjoyed them. I love the part where the Muto, the flying one, grabs a submarine. I really like that. And I love the interaction between them. I love the Mama Muto. And they were hardy fighters. Like, even the little one, who's like half of Godzilla's size, was still able to put up a hell of a good fight against them. Like, they're tough motherfuckers. And like, the Mama Muto took 2 blasts to the face with an atomic breath, and she was still fighting. So they're tough MFs. And they looked great. And also, yeah, Godzilla also looked awesome. If you've not seen the new design, I don't know what G-Fan hasn't at this point. Yeah, the new Godzilla looks awesome. He actually moves really cool. Like, seeing it the second time, I was watching Godzilla a lot more, and he's actually really cool to look at. And I love the expressions he has, and he's very live. Like, the littlest details they thought of, like when he like snarls in Hawaii, he kind of like he does little things with his lips, or I don't know what they're called on reptiles, but like the sides of his mouth, and he kind of snarls a little bit. You really don't see it, but it's there, and he does all these little expressions, and he's so alive. He's like a living, breathing animal. Like, he's very much alive, and I love how they tried to give Godzilla so much character. Ken Watanabe, he did a really good job. I really dug him in this film. I know some people who claim that he had a lot of the same expression, and he didn't give the performance of a lifetime, but that's not what this movie was about. Ken Watanabe was really good for helping us go through those military scenes, and also for understanding why Godzilla's there, and kind of giving Godzilla some backup, And then I think David Strathairn did a good job. The army was incompetent, but you could tell they were trying their best. At times I felt like he was kind of being incompetent, but he was still interesting. Like, his character, he's the general trying to organize everything, and if you see it from his perspective, he's trying to lower casualties. I feel like he should have done a lot more, but he's really trying to. He could have thought of better ideas, but I think he did a good job with the performance, for sure. And Sally Hawkins, Watanabe's assistant, yeah, she was cool. I already said my thoughts on ATJ, and the final battle sequence was really cool. Seeing it the second time, I really got to admire the fight scene. It's actually, the final fight scene is pretty good, especially when the flying Muto joins in, as well as the Mama Muto. And Godzilla's got a 3-way battle going on. It's really cool. And yeah, the visual effects were really good. It's just, and overall, yeah, it was a good, thrilling film. I love the quarantine zone. For even that was cool. like the way they developed it and everything. And I liked how dangerous the Mutos were. Now, on to the big thing. Because, yeah, I enjoyed the movie. Critical analysis, I'm telling you this right now. From a critical analysis of this as a film, 8 out of 10. Now, the big hot topic that everybody's talking about. And as you can tell from my synopsis, where was Godzilla? Where is Godzilla? You know? I'm going to be honest with you. First time I saw this movie, I did enjoy it. But I sat there going, that was cool, but where was Godzilla? He's a little late to the party. And then he kind of shows up, and then he doesn't really do much. And then there's a cool final fight scene, and it's over. It's like, okay. So, yes, I did think that the first time I saw that, and I mean, I had a discussion with people, like, yeah, why the hell isn't Godzilla more in this film? And it did dawn upon me that, like, a lot of times, even when he is in the film, he's not really doing that much. Like, he shows up, and he swims a lot, and he kind of roars. And I mean, his first entrance into Hawaii is fucking beautiful. And then even up to his roar. The attack on the bridge, on the other hand, was kind of like, for one, most of it's from the perspective of the bus driver. And you can't really see what's going on. I would have liked to see a PO, like, above the bridge to really see Godzilla getting attacked. And two, Godzilla didn't do anything. He didn't attack the army. He didn't fight back. He just kind of got shot, roared, and went into the water. So, yeah, I mean, there were those issues. Seeing it second time, though. Yes, Godzilla wasn't in a lot. I came to a revelation, ladies and gentlemen. This is probably the most controversial part of this video. Here's why it was okay. This movie wasn't meant to be the definitive Godzilla movie that you expected, that we all expected. It was meant to be the setup, the beginning, the introduction, the entrance film. This is the first film where we get to see the world that Godzilla is going to exist in and introduce him. And they saved him for the end. It was a lot like, watching it the second time, I was like, it's like the pilot of a TV show about Godzilla. You know? You don't show him in the first episode very much because you're going to show him more over the series. For this one, you want to save him more towards the end because you want to give him a good introduction. Especially at the end when after he kills the Muto and his victory music plays, I just thought to myself, this is the beginning. Everything else in this movie had been leading up to this point, where now this is a Godzilla movie. And that's what this movie was about. It wasn't going to be the greatest, biggest, baddest Godzilla movie of all time. It was the introduction for possibly a really good Godzilla franchise. They had to set up a world. That's why they spent so much time on the Mutos. Because they wanted them to be a threat. And they wanted them to be something so different from Godzilla that when you finally did see Godzilla, you were like, wow. Holy shit. Man. Because the Mutos do show up, like, the first 20 minutes, the Muto hatches. So it's not like there's not monsters in this movie. There's a lot of monsters. And it's a good monster action movie. But Godzilla really doesn't make his awesome entrance until like halfway through, and even then you don't really see that fight scene, and then you don't really see a good fight scene until the last half hour. So Godzilla's like sprinkled throughout until the end where he really is the Godzilla, and that's okay. Like, yeah, it bugged me every time we'd go to a fight scene and then it would cut, and then we'd go to another fight scene and it cuts. And I'd still love to see a little bit of the Hawaii battle because we got to see San Francisco get trashed. But I want to see Hawaii get a little bit trashed, you know? It's a different locale. It would have been kind of fun to see they could have played with the locale a little bit. So maybe an extended version, they'll have like a minute or two extra from Hawaii. But overall, I mean, looking at it, that's right. Like, yes, this movie feels like Rise of the Mutos featuring Godzilla. But it's the introduction for hopefully a really good Godzilla franchise. Because we have to start out by bringing out the threat. It is the Mutos' movie, really. It feels like it's the Mutos' movie and Godzilla's the good guy that comes in and saves the day. This movie should have been called Godzilla Begins, The Mutos Rise, or something like that. Because that's really what it is. It is like Batman Begins, you know? He doesn't become Batman until like halfway through the movie. And, you know, he's still becoming Batman. And that's the thing with Godzilla, like, he's just now being revealed to the world. And these monsters are being revealed to the world. So, this is the beginning. And when I looked at it like that, when I thought of it like this is the beginning, it made sense. Because we wanted to set up the world, we wanted to set up the Mutos so we could introduce Godzilla as the opposite, a force of nature that could bring balance, versus these creatures and the humans who had fucked shit up. Well, the humans had fucked shit up, and they brought out the Mutos. And the Mutos then needed to be balanced with Godzilla. And, but they didn't want to pull all the shots with Godzilla, because had they done that, I feel like then what would we wanted a sequel for? You know? And this is going to sound fucked up. But it was a setup for the sequels. Like, if you think of it, Godzilla as like, it was the setup for a sequel series. And some of you might say, well, that's stupid. Why do that? Why not just do it all in one film? But I would argue that that's impossible anyway. Tell me one Godzilla film that really captured everything you wanted to see in a Godzilla movie. It's nearly impossible. I would even say that the original Godzilla film and King Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster, both movies show a ton of like the different sides of Godzilla. And yet, I would still not, you know, I'd want to see them together, you know? King Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster was the first movie to have a ton of kaiju in it and fighting a larger threat, and the beginning of Godzilla being a good guy. And then Gojira is the original Godzilla film that started it all. But neither one really touches all aspects of Godzilla. I mean, they come very close, but you really can't just look at one. You can never have just one Godzilla movie, because Godzilla's had years and years of different things happening. You can't make one Transformers movie. You can't make one movie, I don't know, about Doctor Who. You can't put it all into one. You can't pack everything that is Godzilla, 60 years worth of stuff, into one film. It's impossible. And I think they knew that. And they were like, we can't do that. And we can't do that from the beginning. So why don't we just do a really good introduction that leaves you wanting more, so that we're excited for the sequels. And I'm pumped for the sequels. Now, I know some of you would be pissed off. Like, why didn't they just do that now? But why not have it later, now that you really want it, you know? And now you see what they're capable of doing. So, yes, that is... I didn't realize that until I saw it the second time, and it's really what's made me come to accept the film and really love it now, and be excited for the sequels. So, think of this film as just the introduction, not the whole Godzilla package you wanted. But think of it as the introduction of an awesome franchise that we're gonna get. Now, let's talk about the sequels, because that's what I'm mentioning. That's what I'm getting at. The sequels, in a second. Because first I want to talk about a little bit about Legendary, some of the marketing and what they did for this film. I do take issue with this. This is another complaining part. When they marketed this fucking film, they did several things. A, they always said it was going to be a dark and super serious film like the 1954 film. They made it seem like Bryan Cranston was going to be there the whole time, and that Godzilla was going to be a destructive force of nature. Kind of none of those things were true. Bryan Cranston dies in like the first 40 minutes. There's no real big nuclear allegory theme. I mean, there's radiation and there's nukes and stuff, but I never felt like the movie was trying to say anything important about the worries of nuclear radiation. It was just a plot device. It was the food for them. That's it. It never was like trying to say something about the dangers of nuclear radiation, just that it could kill you. but it never really spoke to humanity's role in that, I feel. Like, I never feel like the humans were responsible. They never were responsible. They were never held accountable. Because they're the ones that created the nuclear power plants and nuclear missiles that attracted the Mutos and woke up Godzilla. Like, they are responsible for all of this, but I never felt like the humans, were held accountable. And Godzilla was a good guy. He wasn't a bad guy. He was a good guy. And it also seemed like he was a lot more in the movie. Of course, they'd sell it that way. So, I feel like they marketed this film too much on Bryan Cranston. They said it was going to be so deep, and Godzilla would be so scary. And really, it was just kind of a monster action movie. It really wasn't that deep, and which wasn't a bad thing, but like they set it up like it was going to be. And I feel like that's why a lot of people didn't like this movie, because they wanted something like the 1954 Godzilla film. I'm going to put this out right now. Godzilla 1954 and Godzilla 2014 are very different movies. You cannot compare them. It's a different story from a different time, a different feeling. Godzilla 1954 can't really be compared anyway. And Godzilla 2014 is not a remake of Godzilla 1954. It's still the origin of Godzilla, told, but he has a different role now, and it's a different story. It's like when they made Gamera Guardian of the Universe versus they did the very first Gamera movie in 1965. You know, very different. They redid Gamera's origin and also his character and how he's portrayed. The first Gamera film he was like a monster awakened by a nuclear bomb. Gamera Guardian of the Universe, he was created by ancient beings to fight the Gauss, and that's what he was. And that's what this new Godzilla movie is a lot like too. It is kind of like Gamera Guardian of the Universe actually if you compare it. Godzilla versus the Mutos, Gamera versus the Gauss. I mean, there's lots of parallels you can draw there. And they feel very much the same style. So, I think, I don't know, like, yeah, of course they're never going to market it, how it actually is, but I feel like they cheated people a little bit. And I know why people didn't like it, because they were expecting different things, and obviously more Godzilla. But that's why I go back to, this is a setup. And this is a setup for what? Sequels. And all I can say for the sequels is that whatever they do, I hope they try to do things then that are new. Because we've had Godzilla show up a lot and fight monsters, but I want to see something different. Like, when the Muto was breaking out of Nevada and like the Nevada base and attacking Vegas, I really thought it'd be interesting of what if Godzilla walked all the way inland and fought the Muto in the desert. There's not really been many monster movies where they fight in the desert. Like, I'd love to see Godzilla fight something in the Middle East or Africa or somewhere exotic. Like, I'm tired of seeing cities, especially Pacific Rim cities, get attacked. Like, I want to see some place we've never seen before and see a monster battle there. I also hope the sequels bring in more messages about humanity, like either how we're polluting the environment or nuclear waste or something, like, or biotechnology, like Godzilla vs. Biollante or Godzilla vs. Hedorah, the original. They all had themes about something that humans were doing. So I hope they bring that in, because that would be, I feel like this movie is good, but they need to start bringing in some more depth to it. And then I just want to see King Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra, for sure. So, but I'm excited for the sequels. Having watched the second time, realizing it is an introduction, not the complete Godzilla package, I really now enjoy this film, and I'm also excited to see what is in store next. So yeah, and I'll be talking about the sequel news as that comes up, and whatever. And also stay tuned, because I'll be posting stuff about Godzilla Awakening, and also the new NECA Godzilla figure. So stay tuned for all that. But thank you for watching my Godzilla 2014 review. I hope you enjoyed it. And go see the film. Figure it out for yourself if you like it or not. But I enjoyed it once I realized what it really was about. So take it easy, guys. And oh man, a Godzilla franchise. Oh shit.